This micro-credential addresses concrete uses in agriculture and consists of 5 targeted skills. This targeted skill provides information about forming concrete. Before concrete can be used for a building project, the site must be prepared and forms constructed to hold the concrete so that it has the proper thickness and shape for its intended use. Part of this preparation includes preparing and placing steel rebar or mesh prior to the concrete being mixed and poured. The time spent preparing the site and forms is important since the resulting concrete will be relatively permanent and difficult to move if a mistake is made. If concrete is to be placed on the ground for a floor, road, or other flat work, it is important that the soil be properly prepared. In most cases, some topsoil should be removed and replaced with gravel, sand, or small ground up limestone materials called screenings. Care should be taken to remove organic matter that would later decompose and create voids below the concrete structure. It is also important to pack down the soil or material that will be used below the concrete structure. Taking the time to provide a proper amount of support below the concrete and compacting it to remove air spaces will help prevent settling and potential cracking of the concrete placed in that location. Another consideration for concrete that is to become a floor for a building is to add a vapor barrier. Water can migrate through concrete over time, so a layer of plastic sheeting is placed below the concrete to help prevent that from happening. A heated building can actually cause water to move into the concrete from the soil and then into the building, so vapor barriers are an important way to prevent this from happening. Flat surfaces that remain outside or will be unheated do not need a vapor barrier. Once the groundwork has been completed, concrete forms must be constructed to place and support the concrete. These forms are typically made out of wood, although companies that build a lot of concrete structures will have metal pans that can be clipped together to provide walls or boundaries that can be easily reused. Forms that are used must be strong enough to hold the concrete and the force created by that weight. They also need to be supported to keep them in the desired shape. Often, stakes will be used to help brace the concrete forms. Metal braces that extend through the structure, called wall ties, will also be used to help hold walls or foundations together. Another thing that needs to happen prior to pouring concrete is to place steel in the structure to help with strength and to prevent cracking. For flat work, steel mesh is commonly used to help hold the concrete in place. Applications which will bear extremely heavy loads will have networks of rebar placed and tied together to provide extra strength. Walls of buildings or large tanks will have rebar placed in them. For many concrete projects, engineers will determine the size and extent of rebar needed for the structure. It all needs to be put in place before the forms can be completed and concrete poured. Once the proper support is provided, the rebar or steel is installed and the forms are ready. It is time to place and finish the concrete. Preparation of the site where the concrete is to be placed is critical to the long-term strength and use of the concrete itself. The forms that are used to maintain the vertical surfaces of concrete always need to be reinforced to resist outward forces as the concrete cures. Finally, preparation of the work site is extremely important for the strength and durability of the concrete. Forms, steel mesh and rebars, vapor barriers, and other materials are required to accomplish long-lasting concrete structures.